There's a never-ending battle between people saying piston-driven rifles are better than direct impingement systems, and these arguments range from everything from the weight of the system, gassing issues, suppressed versus unsuppressed fire, and of course, how dirty all of your operating system parts are actually going to get under hard use. Generally, gas piston rifles are a bit more expensive and heavy, kind of like the HK and many other high-quality manufacturers, but there is one out there that is a high-quality rig without the HK price tag, and that is going to be the PWS, specifically in my case, the MK114 MOD 2. But the question still lies, why choose a gas piston system over a direct impingement system? All right, everybody, I'm sure the comment section is already on fire because of that intro, because all my friends down there with a touch of the tism between piston systems and DI guns are just hammering away at the keyboard, melting the keys, putting their comments in there on which one is better, and specifically which brand and why, short stroke, long stroke, all of these different things. One of the things we have to realize though is there's always a give and a take. There's always a pro and a con when it comes to choosing a DI, a piston, a different handgun, a different caliber, a different rifle. There's always a give and a take there. So you got to bear that stuff in mind when you are making these decisions. But PWS, in the way of their Mark 1 and their Mark 2 or Mod 1, Mod 2 setups right here, do have something kind of special going on, not only in the way of their price points for the quality, but the fact that it is a long stroke piston system. I would also like to say thank you to everybody out there in the audience. I appreciate you spending some time here on the channel. We're about to pass 300,000 subscribers, which is awesome, and I truly enjoy the growth and the fun and the opportunity that doing this has given me, and hopefully has helped some of you out make the right decision. I'd also like to give a big shout to Brownells. They've been a massive supporter of mine since I started. They have helped me out so much. They helped me get most of the stuff here on the channel now so I can remain unbiased and do reviews and get you guys the information you want and need to make good decisions. Now, if you're new to the channel and you don't know how things work around here, I will have a build list be linked down below. If you're watching on TV, a QR code up here. That way you can check out everything we talk about and go over today, do all of your own research, should you be interested in anything. And of course, if you want to be super generous, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. So what actually makes the PWS MK114 MOD 2 any different than other piston systems out there? So rather than a short stroke piston system, something like the HK416, anything like that, this is a long stroke piston system where the op rod is actually connected to the bolt. So think more along the lines of like an AK-47 setup. One of the coolest things about the way that's designed is since that op rod is directly attached to the key on the bolt system there, you don't have the problem of a mushrooming op rod. So in some short stroke piston systems where that op rod just mashes into that dead head on the bolt, that will mushroom out over time and you could actually have to cut that op rod out. That happens quite a bit, especially if you don't do the maintenance you're supposed to do at the regular intervals. Well, that won't happen with this since that op rod is directly connected to the bolt. And there's also ways that the bolt slows itself down as it's reciprocating in that gas tube. Out towards the business end, you'll notice a slot open in the top of the rail, and that's where you can adjust your gas system settings. This is a mid-length system and you can fit it to your needs, whether you're using regular ammunition, suppressed low power, or suppressed with standard or high power ammunition. Now for me personally, I found that when I was out on the range and I was like under that 5,000 round mark between clean intervals, both this one and several of my friends that own PWS piston rifles, I found setting 2 was absolutely perfect. Extremely soft, very consistent ejection pattern. In the manual, it says use setting 1. I found that 2 was absolutely perfect. Now, once you started to get it a little bit more used, a little bit more dirty, even though piston systems stay extremely clean, maybe a little less lubrication in there, you might want to run it on that standard setting. However, for all of my testing, unsuppressed, I ran setting 2, 62 grain and above. Anything below that, you might have some issues. And I found the thing ran exceptionally well and soft. In fact, some people out there will say that their DI guns run softer than any gas piston system. I have a lot of DI guns with adjustable gas blocks on them. What I will say is the way that this one is set up, it was as soft or softer than just about all of them, unless I had an adjustable gas block on that DI system to where I could calm it down. So that is saying a lot, especially for a long stroke piston system with all of that weight and inertia coming back through that op rod. Another cool thing about the way the system is designed here, that gas tube actually has bleed off holes underneath it that face the barrel, which are going to bleed off gas and help slow that system down as it operates. That way you're not going to get that crazy recoil impulse like some people say the 416 gives. Having shot many different piston rifles over the years, some of them are quite violent when you pull the trigger on them due to the fact that they are short strokes and they are wildly overgassed to maintain functionality in austere conditions, or at least that's what they say. Me personally, I want a gun that's gonna run reliably and normally without feeling like you're getting jackhammered in the shoulders. Now, it's 5.56 223, it's not that bad, but why have something that's so violently overgassed when you can have it tuned in to where it's moderately gassed, extremely effective and extremely reliable without putting so much wear on the system that you're gonna run into parts replacements sooner than you should. Those are some of the differences, but what about the rest of the MK114 Mod 2? What is this rifle all about? So starting off with the furniture, they went with BCM. That is always a good choice. You can't go wrong with the BCM stuff. It's got a great name in the industry. It has the PWS buffer tube and their ratcheting QD end plate, which makes life easy. I am a huge fan of those, both on this and some rifles that I've personally put together. They went with Radian, Raptor, and tailing controls. It's just the way to go. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel when it comes to controls. In my opinion, Radian has the best stuff out on the market for these two right now, so why not just use it? They're there. PWS uses their own enhanced PTFE coated mil-spec trigger, which in my opinion, hands down, is one of the best mil-spec style triggers I have tried in a very long time. So short of upgrading to a Geisley or some other form of kind of high performance trigger, for a mil-spec one, I don't know of anyone that feels better than this right out of the box. And I have to say, it was so much nicer than just about everything else mil-spec that I've had in recently. The lower receiver has fully ambidextrous controls, an integral trigger guard, and has a generous mag well, which is just the way to go in the modern market. There are lightning cuts all over that forged upper receiver. It looks very good, as well as keeping the weight low. The rail has all the M-lock you're gonna want on it, plenty of venting. It has pick lock out front, so whether you're using Picatinny attachments or M-lock, you can still do it with either one while having both options and not adding girth or size to the rail. The barrel is 223 Wild in the chambering. It's 41 V50 steel with a mid-length gas system. It's capped off with the PWS muzzle device that is pin welded since this is a 14.5 barrel, but they do have SBRs and 16 inches as well. It's a 1 in 8 twist, so it's going to handle a wide variety of ammunition. And overall, the way that that rail and everything is set up just fits. One of the other benefits to this system is when you get piston systems in some other guns, they become really tall. So that rail either gets really thick, the upper receiver has to be taller, the rail has to be taller, it adds weight, it adds size, it adds girth. And if you're into holding girthy things, let us all know in the comments what it is. But the way this one is set up, it still maintains that low profile, natural feel of a standard DI rig. All right, so the range work, shooting conditions, reliability, and all that stuff. Got a couple thousand rounds through this one specifically, and several friends that own these. So I have not had a single malfunction with this, which is awesome because I've had a lot of problems recently with different manufacturers if you've been paying attention to the channel. I will say once I dialed this in, I was just exceptionally happy with how this thing ran. When I got the gas system where I wanted it, unsuppressed, I haven't run it with a suppressor yet because I have to take that muzzle device off, but I was extremely happy with the way this thing not only recoil-wise felt, the trigger and the overall flatness of its shooting, but the performance of this thing out there was awesome. It just ran and ran and ran, and it didn't get overly hot, which is another benefit basically of a piston system. It just ran like a sewing machine. I handed it off to my buddy Jonathan from Tactical Toolbox, and he just had to get down with it for a little bit. So from the design to the functionality, PWS built a hell of a rifle here. So I've run these a little bit over the years since they came out, but this is my first time getting a lot of rounds through them and really getting deep with my friends about how theirs have performed over the years. And I don't say that lightly. Any of you that have watched the channel know that I don't really get excited too often about something, especially at this point since I've got like hundreds of guns literally, and I test dozens and dozens of them a year. But this thing just seemed to do about everything I want right, from the way it recoils. It's going to be a sub MOA guarantee from PWS, the full ambi controls on there. The thing is just set up right. So to finish out the range and performance section, there's one big thing you're gonna notice when it comes to a piston gun, especially when you're out there and you're running like multiple round drills, right? You're just hammering that trigger, doing some transition drills. When it comes to a piston system as compared to a DI system, especially when you are suppressed, you are going to pretty much instantly start to notice all of that gas coming back in your face, right? When you're behind this thing and shooting it, especially when you are suppressed. On this piston system, even without a suppressor, it's very noticeable the difference between going from a DI gun to this one, because all of that gas is getting bled off in here and not pushed back into your face. So when you're out there on the range having fun or doing whatever you're doing training, it's definitely nicer to have a piston system over a DI system, especially with a can on it. Now, since we all know there is no such thing as a free lunch, what does something like this run? Because I'm sure people are already thinking big amounts, right? Because usually piston systems are just a little bit more. However, depending on if you want the Mod 1 or Mod 2, and really the big difference Mod 1, Mod 2 is forward assist or not, you could go anywhere from 15 hundo to about 1995. Now, in the modern market, for a long stroke piston system like this, with the quality brand reputation and quality of materials and workmanship here, I don't even blink at that. Like, in fact, I want to get an SBR version of this because I'm super impressed with it. And I'm glad I got this one in a test, but I've got to have one at this point. Now, if you think that's expensive, it's probably because your wife finally cut you off. But when you think about the modern market, think one of the DI guns that's super popular out there like BCM. You're gonna be 15, 16, 700 bucks at least right now in those, and it's a DI gun. Nothing wrong with those, awesome. I've got a couple of them. But if you're into the piston system, you effectively now have an option that's really high quality for the same price as a standard mil-spec, DI. All right, we are at the time where nobody gets a free pass here on the channel. So do we have any problems? What are our pros? What are our cons here of the Mark 114 Mod 2 or Mod 1, same system in there from PWS here. So reliability out there, 100%. Like I said to the point, I'm definitely getting an SBR. I'm gonna pay the tech stamp, just get one because I want one. Now, there are three big positives here when I talk about the PWS system. The long stroke piston system, it's easy to clean, it's easy to maintain, makes your life super easy out there on the range and after the range when you get home. Less gas in your face, a lot of good stuff going on, especially with this gas piston system. The length of it, the weight of it, the way it slows down when it's reciprocating, they just designed it right. That piston system's been around for a while, and I have yet to hear of anybody having issues with it that wasn't diagnosed down to an ammunition issue, or they had it on the wrong gas setting. So overall, that is a huge positive. The next big positive here is from the weight to the recoil impulse. They just nailed this thing. It feels good, runs like a champ. And that trigger, awesome. Just well executed overall, because like I said, hands down, probably the best mil-spec trigger I've gotten on a pistol, unless you've upgraded it to a Geisley trigger. And the last thing is, so easy to clean and maintain. Not only do you have to not clean it as much as a DI system, but it's gonna get like probably 1/8, 1/10 of the dirt and grime and everything else from the system pushing back in there from the gas, all the carbon buildup, than a DI system is. That's just a big positive when it comes to pistons in every single way. Easy to maintain, easy to clean. In fact, this system, anybody with any mechanical information at all or mechanical knowledge could take this whole thing apart super quick, super easy. Not saying don't read the manual, I'm just saying it's like stupid easy. Now, what could some cons be with this rifle and the gas system specifically? So as compared to a DI gun, you're not going to have the availability of parts. You're not gonna be able to run down to the local mom and pop shop, buy gas tubes, detents, and all that things. You'd probably have to either find a retailer or go direct through PWS to get, say, a new op rod, a new bolt. All those things are just not going to be on the shelf. Is that really a con? Yeah, it can be. Now, when you get to 15, 20,000 rounds in your rifle, you should know darn well it's time to start getting those consumable parts in, whether it's gas rings, op rods, whatever it is, you know at what round counts you're supposed to be changing things. So yes, it's a con, but it's one you should be preparing for. The only other real con that I can think of when it comes to a rifle like a piston system, or this one specifically, is that people seem to still love forward assist. I'm kind of apathetic. I really don't care. And it's really kind of a non-issue because the Mod 1 has a forward assist. So if you need a forward assist, you can get the version with it. So it's kind of a non-issue. Me personally, I don't really use a forward assist. I don't press check my rifles. If I'm unaware if it's loaded or unloaded, I'm either going to completely clear it and functions check it, or I'm just going to run the bolt and put a fresh round in there. I really don't even press check my pistols anymore. And I think the only reason I really did was because that was kind of ingrained in me by the agency I used to work for. But if I'm coming up on an unknown rifle or pistol, I'm completely clearing it out and starting fresh anyways. So press checking to me, kind of non-issue. And if you've got something that's not feeding, me personally, I'm not gonna jam that round in there even harder. So up to you. But the option is totally there if you need that forward assist. Let's come full circle to why you would choose a piston system like this long stroke from PWS over a DI or direct impingement standard AR-15 style system. And for me, really summed up in 3 major positives for me. Now there are a ton of different positives, pros, cons, whatever you want to say. But for me, there are 3 huge reasons to choose a good quality piston system over a DI system. The biggest one being the system 100% is going to run cleaner and generally run longer between cleanings and maintenance. That is just a byproduct of a DI system pushing all of the gas, the carbon, and everything back into the bolt, all the operating parts. Generally, if they are built to a very high quality level, a piston system will just run cleaner for much longer. That's kind of just how it is. I'm not saying don't clean them. I'm just saying that's a product of the system. Cleanliness is next to godliness, right? Like they say. So keep the thing running. The next big positive with a piston system is your adjustability to mission-specific needs, no matter what your mission is. Whether you're having fun on the range, shooting competition, you're in some tiered unit, you're in the military, law enforcement, contract work, does not matter. With a DI gun, you don't have all of the adjustments unless you start changing parts generally. With a piston system, you usually get, anywhere from 1, 2, 3, sometimes more gas setting adjustments. That's going to help you dial in your ammo, your suppressed, unsuppressed settings, and you'll pretty much know, like, hey, 1 is for everything or dirty, austere conditions. 2 is for my subsonic, and then, a little bit less is for my high power suppressed. You'll figure those things out, and you're probably going to be using the same ammo most times for a work scenario, and you're going to know that thing is going to run. That is a huge positive because having that thing set up for the way you want it and having the ability to adjust on the fly, literally in like 2 seconds with a Leatherman tool, turn the gas block, that's super easy. Stupid easy. It's numbered. You literally can't mess it up. If you do mess it up, please seek help somewhere, but that is just a massive positive. One of the last big benefits to a piston system like this, it's healthier for you. And I know a lot of people don't talk about that. Anytime you are shooting a rifle and you're shooting a lot, or you've been in the military or in law enforcement and you shoot thousands and thousands of rounds a month or a year, you are getting a lot of carcinogens and cancer-causing stuff, lead blown right back into your face, especially if you're using suppressors. So think about this. Direct impingement gun, as you're pulling that trigger, especially with the can, all that gas and stuff is coming back through that gas tube. It's getting blown around in the chamber area, back into your face. You'll see guys at the end of a good day, there's like grease splatters on their eye pro, there's brown and black marks on their face from the gas coming back. Those things are all carcinogens. Lead coming back into you. These are all things that are not healthy for you, right? And when you've been doing this stuff for 20 plus years, your lead levels and your carcinogen rates are off the charts, which is not good. So a piston system will help alleviate that, especially if you run cans a lot. Now, I don't know about you, but my health is kind of personal to me. I want to live as long as possible and grind as long as possible having fun. This ain't no practice life. You only get 1 shot at it, so you've got to stay healthy. And I know some of you have been staring at what is on here. So this one is set up pretty light, and I like it like this because when I'm thinking about, running around out there in the desert with my buddy on his property, or here around the house, or just out in the city, This thing is light and right. It just runs, and I like the way it is. It's fast, it's maneuverable. I've got that new Vortex AMG UH-1 Huey. This is the Gen 2 and the new tan. Surefire Scout up here. You can't go wrong with either of those things. They're pretty well proven. I really like the window. I like the reticle. I like all the settings on the Vortex stuff. Little emissary handbrake right here. I love what those guys are doing with the print systems they got going. Pretty awesome. Give a guy a printer, see what he can make these days. And overall, I think this is just a really perfect setup for something that you're gonna run around with out there on the daily, even train with or whatever, because you guys have seen that I got a lot of rifles. Some of them are set up with everything in the world, PEC 15s, lights, flip mount, oh, just everything in the world. They're heavy, they're less maneuverable. But when I think about something to have here in my home for protection or to run out there with daily, I really want it set up like this. And again, I'll have that parts list link down below so you can check all that stuff out for yourself, do all your own research. And you know, should you pick anything up, you're probably going to enjoy it. Now feel free to start fighting in the comments down below, whether you're a DI or a piston person, or maybe you go both ways. That's okay too, because I like them both as well. Keep doing out on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.